Welcome back to News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. It's the Vince Coglianese Show. I'm Corey Inganamort, filling in for Vince. He'll be back on Monday. Thank you so much for joining. 888-630-9625. 888-630-WMAL is the number to call. I'd appreciate if you joined this program the last hour of the show. Would love to have you. About to get into these jobs numbers in a little bit. It's the first Friday of the month, which means, well, the jobs revisions numbers comes out. No, yes, the jobs numbers, but it's always the revisions numbers that gets kind of hidden. Nobody really wants to talk about it. You know, it's the Biden-Harris administration. You know, the jobs are never as good as they say. They're not that good in the first place, but then they get revised down. Every month they do. Every month they do, and nobody seems to talk about it. I want to get into that in a little bit, but first let's take a phone call. Al is calling in from Falls Church. He joins the Vince Coglianese Show. Go ahead, Al.
Hi. I had two quick questions, please. I thought Putin said through an interpreter that he wanted Kamala to win. Am I mistaken about that?
You are not mistaken about that. He said that out loud. Let me pull that audio up for you. Just yesterday it was released. Here is Putin through an interpreter saying he prefers Kamala Harris. And why wouldn't he? I mean, heck, he didn't invade Ukraine under Donald Trump. He only felt emboldened and like it was an okay path to do. Well, who was president? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris.
Her laugh, she's laughing. Her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good, and if everything is good, it means that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she'll refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them.
Yeah, he prefers Kamala. The laugh is fascinating. And what do you think of that, Al? Kind of deflates the whole narrative that, Trump is some Russian puppet, isn't it?
Yeah, so why were you guys saying earlier, I thought that, he was saying that, or the media was saying that he wants Trump.
Because it was the media, Al. The media always lies to you. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. The AP just did a story that JD Vance is completely okay with school shootings taking place. It just says it's a fact of life. They lie to you every single day.
How were they justifying that rationalization that he would want Trump? What was their rationalization?
Well, they're not rational people. There is no rationalizing with these people. Joe Scarborough said it was just some Olympic trolling level. This is what he said.
Recommended to all his allies to support Ms. Harris, so that is what we are going to do.
Yeah, that is some Olympic level trolling.
I mean, Russia was way worse off when Donald Trump was president. Now they're producing records amount of oil. They're rich as hell. They got a war going on, but he's completely content keeping that happen. Again, he only invaded Ukraine while Joe Biden, Kamala Harris was in charge. Donald Trump, I think that war ends, and he even says 24 hours. I will end the war in 24 hours. That's what he always says. So I don't know if you're Putin, the status quo seems pretty good to you, don't it?
Yep. Of course, they would prefer a weaker America. So with Biden-Harris Walls ticket, yes, sir. And Corey, one last thing, if I may.
Sure.
Like when the shooter who shot at Trump and the other guys who shot him, the counter sniper agents, did they see the shooter crawl across the building?
Well, it's such an important date in history, January 13th. Unfortunately, we just don't have that much information about it. We're being stonewalled so far. What we do know is that the shooter shot 8 shots. There were 2 counter sniper shots that took him out. If they didn't see him on the roof, and we saw things stirring up just before the shots were fired, as if they had a good idea. If they didn't see it, the Trump supporters certainly did. And if Trump supporters who are shouting, he's on the roof, sees him before Secret Service, that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. I mean, look how quickly they shot him after he got his 8 shots off, right?
Yeah, that's Yeah, he at the very least, it still doesn't make any sense to me. We still haven't had answers. How the second he's in your sights, take the president off stage. Beforehand, even when he was lurking around, he was suspicious. Take the president off stage. We still don't have the answers to it. The media is perfectly fine and memory holing that, so you never have to talk about it again. Unfortunately, they're just not interested in finding answers right now. So
exactly.
That's the best I got for you, Al. But I appreciate you joining the show. Call back again soon, all right?
Okay, great.
All right. So as we were saying, the jobs revisions numbers came out today because it was the first Friday of the month, and they're not good. They're not good. First of all, the jobs numbers, the added jobs this past month, 142,000. That's lower than the 160,000 that they projected. But more importantly, the revisions from the previous months. Let's see here. Employers added 89,000 jobs in July, even lower than the 114,000 payroll gains the Labor Department originally reported. So, no biggie. Just let's do the math on air right now. Just 25,000 jobs eliminated. And again, the media doesn't report on the revisions. It's just moving forward. E.J. Antoni has a great tweet thread, obviously a friend of the show, the in-house economist of the Vince Coglianese show. I recommend you check out his Twitter thread, Real E.J. Antoni. Again, all these jobs that are added, they're foreign-born workers. Full-time jobs are actually down overall. Yes, full-time jobs are down overall, but when they say that jobs numbers are going up, these are part-time jobs because people can't afford the price of living anymore. So they got to get multiple jobs, and somehow the Biden administration, they call this a big, giant victory. According to EJ, part-time jobs jumped again in August while full-time jobs declined. Since June 23rd, we've lost over 1.5 million full-time jobs while adding just over 2 million part-time ones. Is that a sustainable economy? No, I don't think so. And again, these jobs are going to foreign-born workers or government jobs. So these salaries are paid for by your tax dollars. How does that create an economy? It doesn't. If the government wants to create more jobs just to inflate these jobs numbers, they will. And that's what's going on. That's why you don't feel it in your pocket anymore. And your taxes are going up and inflation is going higher and wages aren't keeping the pace of inflation. CNBC did a report on this morning.
I think we're in the type of recession eventually that comes due to this cycle of higher interest rates, higher inflation, the stress that puts on the consumer eventually hits their savings rates, increases their delinquency rates. That hits the employment markets where we're already starting to see some signs of companies slowing down in terms of hiring. They've paused hiring already. I think the next step will be when we start to see more layoffs. And that then will bring you your run-of-the-mill, more of a normal type of recession.
So there you go. We're heading for a recession, which the left tries to redefine every time they're in office. We actually did hit a recession earlier when 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth. The left tries to say, oh, no, that's not a recession anymore. They changed the definition of that, just like they changed the definition of absolutely everything. So the top line numbers from this August jobs report, jobs for native-born Americans over the last year is down 1.3 million. Jobs for foreign-born workers over the last year, up 2 million. Full-time jobs in August are down, or over the last year, full-time jobs are down 438,000. Part-time jobs are up 527,000. So if you subtract the full-time from the part-time jobs, oh, look, there's more jobs. There's more jobs, but they're all part-time. That's why this economy is just not working. It's not working for anything. Lawrence Jones was, he hosts the morning show on Fox News. He was talking to a North Carolina voter this morning. She said, it's the cost. It's the cost of everything, which is why I'm going to vote for Donald Trump.
Tell me, what do you feel like is the most pressing issue for Americans?
The economy.
The economy?
Yes. The cost of groceries, the cost of everything. Food. I have had people in line in front of me at a grocery store putting stuff back, and it breaks my heart. That's not the American way.
Things were different under Donald Trump.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much, love. It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, ma'am.
It's #1 in my book.
The poor woman, you can feel the pain in her voice. She's struggling like so many Americans are. The economy is not good. And that's what should determine, it usually does. It's the economy, stupid. Remember, Donald Trump to win this next election. But Ian Sams, he's a little lickspittle for the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration. He says, well, no, we don't have time to look back on why things happened and why the economy is good. We just need to look forward. He didn't say this, but it's vibes. It's vibes. Well, I went to Safeway this morning. I got lunch and, I bought a sandwich and a couple of snacks. It was like $16. That's kind of, I tried to pay for it with vibes. And you know what? The cash register, they didn't accept it because cash is what runs this country. Vibes don't make people feel better. Vibes don't make you safer or our border more secure. So Kamala Harris, who still to this day, remember, North Carolina was supposed to get absentee ballots in the mail today. Kamala Harris, to this day, still does not have a single policy listed on her website. Why? Because they're not popular. Remember when she ran for president the first time, she didn't make it to Iowa. She was polling at 5%. Why? Because she actually spoke about her policies and they weren't popular. People rejected them. And she's been hidden in this Biden administration because she somehow is more cringe than Joe Biden, who every time he opens his mouth, you don't know what the heck he's saying. I've got more examples of that coming up soon. He's in Detroit, Michigan, trying to make sense. They let him out of the bunker. Vibes don't make the economy work. So Ian Sams, take a listen to this audio. He's had a doozy of a day. A couple of clips I want to play.
She's been part of the Biden administration. I mean, she has been part of the Democrats have been in control of the country for the last 3 going on 4 years. And you are still seeing this in the polling. I mean, these working class voters are telling us right now that more of them are with Donald Trump than Kamala Harris. Why? What is it about what you guys have been doing for the last 3+ years that explains that?
Well, I think, again, we're trying to talk to the voters and explain this message. We've got 60 days until the election. We don't have time to sit around and think about why over the last few years certain things may have happened or may not have happened. We've got to go win an election. And the
we got no time.
That by talking about
She's got no time to talk about what happened.
And it's really different. It's really different. It's a new way forward, not only for the Democratic Party, but for the country.
It's really different. Okay, can you
secrecy.
Tell me what is really different? I got the capital gains rate, but what else on the list makes it really different from what was going on the past few years?
Sure, she wants to take into effect the first national law to take on corporate price gouging. She's talking about holding bad corporate actors accountable for their role in taking up prices on people at the grocery store, at the gas pump, all across this country. There are distinctions here in this candidate's message that she is sharing with the country every single day.
There are no distinctions. So what is her plan to fix this horrible economy? Well, the exact same thing that Joe Biden's doing, but make it worse. We're gonna make price gouging our big issue. We're going to artificially prevent companies, particularly grocery stores, from charging what they should be charging. There's no profit margin in grocery products. It's masses that they need to sell in order to make a profit. So Ian Sams has no time to talk about why things didn't work. We just need to look forward and embrace this new form of communism. Communism. Ian Sams has a doozy of a day. He was on Fox News earlier with Dana Perino, and he was asked about debate prep and why she's not actually doing interviews. And Ian Sams had the nerve to say, well, she is doing interviews all the time. She sat down with Dana Bash. So and by the way, there are no interviews scheduled in the future. What's she going to do, once a month? Pray she gets to November without actually having to answer for any of her policies. And she's flip-flopped on so many. I want to read you a list shortly. She's always putting out these statements through anonymous campaign sources saying she no longer supports what she previously supports, but you never hear it from Kamala. So what are we to assume? She still supports what she said most recently out loud. Here's Ian Sams.
Is it a risk to put all your chips on one debate when she hasn't really been able to do any sort of Q&A with anybody except for in debate prep?
Well, I reject that. She sat down with Dana Bash for a long interview on CNN that aired
One
just
interview
a week
in
ago.
47 days.
Well, I know you guys are just now paying attention to her now that she's the presidential candidate, but she's done about 90 interviews this year as the vice president, and people maybe weren't paying attention or listening. She's taken questions from reporters on the campaign trail so far in this campaign, people who are covering her every single day. She's going to do more interviews and talk to the press more and take more reporter questions. Of course she's going to do that over the course of this campaign.
Ian, come on, Dana Perino. Like, that's all you can really say. Like, how pathetic. She's done 90 interviews over the course of her vice presidency recently. Have you seen those? Because I haven't. Maybe they're counting this as one of her sit-down interviews. How's debate prep? As she boards Air Force Two. So far, so good. Oh, Ian Sams, let's count that. Put that tally down. She just did an interview. Yep. Next question. In 1 month from now, maybe on the debate. We'll see. Kamala Harris flip-flopping on everything. I want to discuss that when we come back. And still, I got to get to this AP story ripping on JD Vance for completely false reasons. They're taking him way out of context, but this is what they normally do. Let us head to the phones where we have Phil calling in from Fredericksburg. He is on the Vince Coglianese Show. Phil, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Look, my view about this shooter, about this 14-year-old shooter is very simple. When you take a gun and you kill 4 people and you destroy the lives of 9 other people, plus all the people you affect, you effectively have forfeited your right to life. There has to be a federal statute that says when you take a gun and you kill masses of people, that you will be put to death. There needs to be a death penalty mandatory on us, irregardless of age. We have to do this to show people when you do this, you have essentially killed yourself.
Yeah, eye for an eye. Absolutely, Phil. I completely agree. This child murdered 4 people, injured many more, traumatized hundreds of people. He deserves to pay the price. And the father, and this is where things get interesting. The father knew that he was a threat. The FBI visited the home. They talked about it. They had a whole conversation. Yet he gifted him reportedly an AR-15 for Christmas. The father,
which is insane.
Which is absolutely insane. In Georgia, you have to be 18 years old to own a firearm, and if you're younger than that, you have to have the firearm in the presence of a supervisor or a parent or someone of age. So it was completely irresponsible for this father to give the gun to the child. And if you didn't know he had the gun, the laws are you have to lock up your guns. There's so much blame to be put out here. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it falls at the feet of the shooter. I do hope he rots in hell.
Absolutely.
And he does deserve the death penalty. Phil, you're right on. Just a tragic story.
God bless.
All right, Phil. Welcome back to News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. I'm Corey Inganamort, filling in for Vince today. My great honor to do so. Feel free to call the program, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. The attacks on JD Vance are just getting absolutely disgusting, reprehensible, even for the mainstream media, even for the Associated Press. I want to play a bit of audio that JD Vance, he was addressing a crowd in Arizona. He was at a campaign stop. And he talked about the tragic shooting that took place in Georgia 2 days ago. And here's what he said.
I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door We've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to.
Reasonable thing to say, right? It's a fact of life that we need to bolster our schools. It's a fact of life that the shooting happened. It did happen. It's a fact of life, and we need to protect our schools and make them safer. Reasonable thing to say. Here's how the AP spun this audio bite. AP, they tweeted this out. JD Vance says school shootings are a fact of life. Wow. Way to twist them around completely. JD Vance says school shootings are a fact of life. Reprehensible, even for the AP. So JD Vance is just cool with it. That's just a fact of life. And of course, Kamala's campaign, Kamala HQ on Twitter, which is also a reprehensible Twitter feed, they ran with it too. They retweeted it. They said, JD Vance responds to the deadly shooting in Georgia by saying school shootings are just a fact of life and attacking common sense gun safety reform. Unbelievable. And the original AP story, they actually, since they've been getting all sorts of negative reactions to it by the people trying to defend truth on Twitter. They actually deleted that post and they rephrased it. They said, JD Vance says he laments that school shootings are a fact of life and says the U.S. needs to harden security to prevent more carnage like the shooting this week that left 4 dead in Georgia. So they changed it. But the original post had 3.2 million views before they took it down. And of course, the new post has way less than that. So they just smear the guy, basically accusing him of being content, totally fine that school shootings happen. They don't issue an apology. They just quietly delete it, change the headline, hope people don't notice, and few people see it. Kamala even put out a statement regarding this, like a big fancy statement. Harris Walls statement on Vance calling school shootings a fact of life. Yesterday, Vice President Harris says, it doesn't have to be this way in response to another senseless school shooting. Donald Trump and JD Vance think school shootings are a fact of life, and we have to get over it. He didn't say that. He didn't say that at all. It went on to say, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz know we can take action to keep our children safe and keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Donald Trump and JD Vance will always choose the NRA and gun lobby over our children. That is the choice in this election. Absolutely pathetic. And Tim Walz even retweeted that and said, this is pathetic. We can't quit on our kids. They deserve better. So Tim Walz, who wants to neuter your children, decides to jump in and accuse JD Vance of not caring if children live when they go to schools. It's absolutely reprehensible. And I'm disgusted by that. And it's right on par for the AP. And it's not even beneath them. It's not even beneath them. So absolutely sick. There you go. That's the AP. Phones are coming in a little bit. Here we go. Ross is calling in from Beltsville, Maryland. He's on line 2. Ross, welcome to the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi. I'm a little north of that right now. I happen to be a firearms safety instructor, and I'm on my way to teach a class. The point that I wanted to bring up is this. The FBI screwed up, the local police screwed up, and the father screwed up. The father's the only one that will be able to go to jail. It's very similar to the service screwing up and people being killed.
Well, the son's being charged as an adult, so he'd be able to go to jail too.
Well, of course, that was...
Oh, yeah, okay. Just wanted to clarify, okay.
But the FBI and the local police departments had the opportunity to do something, and they said, we talked to them and it's okay. I don't know exactly what they did, but I do know that they didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And now the father's going to be the one to go to jail.
Yeah, they sure didn't. I actually have audio of that. The father did speak to the FBI back in May of 2023, and here is the conversation. CNN was reporting that. And again, thank you for your call. I appreciate that. And I got to sign up for a firearms class. I own firearms, but I need my concealed carry. Ross, do you teach concealed carry by chance? Oh, he just dropped. Well, maybe I'll have to reach out to Ross another way. But here is that conversation an FBI investigator had with the father, Colin Gray, back when he visited the home in May of 2023.
Let me ask you this. Do you have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down.
Okay.
We do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so like I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm a little pissed off, to be even really honest with you. So I'm a little taken back by the whole thing, but I can tell you this, I take that very serious, and so does he, as a matter of fact. Like, I don't know anything about him saying shit like that, and I'm going to be mad as hell if he did, and then all the guns will go away, and they won't be accessible to him. You know, I'm trying to be honest with you, I'm trying to teach him about firearms and safety and how to do it all and get him interested in the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Like on my phone.
You get him away from those video games.
Exactly right. That's the God honest truth. And the picture on my phone is him with blood on his cheeks from shooting his first deer. It was just the greatest day ever.
Yeah,
so
sure.
he knows the seriousness of weapons and what they can do and how to use them and not use them. So it's kind of a little bit of a shock. So in whatever y'all are telling him, please instill in him that if this is whatever or wherever this is coming from, it's no joke.
No.
Like, it's no joke.
So there he is. That's Colin Gray, father of the shooter in Georgia. Knew that he was making threats online. And he even said in that audio, well, if I knew this, then the guns won't be accessible to him. Well, it turns out months later, he gifted him reportedly an AR for Christmas later that year. Completely inexcusable. And he's facing charges right now. Let's see. Leo is calling in from Colorado. My friend, he joins us on line 1. Leo, welcome to the Vince Colonnese Show.
Hey, Corey, great job today. When I grew up, I finished school in 1976, high school in North Carolina. Okay. I was telling the call screener that I bought my first shotgun in Nebraska at 14. And when we'd go to school during hunting season, you know, a bunch of country folks, they'd have their pickup trucks and rifle racks in the back window. And we'd go hunting before school, go to school. A lot of times the trucks weren't even locked. And go to school, finish, and then go out hunting again, whether it was dove hunting or whatever else.
Yep.
What the problem is, Corey, is the left has twisted everything, just like JD Vance's comment, so badly that we aren't even allowed to discipline our children anymore. Mm-hmm. That's why they're running around doing stupid stuff like this.
Yeah,
and the dad was kind of stupid, too, buying him an AR at 14.
Yeah. Yep. And then what is the result? What is Kamala's solution is to disarm law-abiding citizens, gun owners like you and I.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll give it back to them one bullet at a time. You ain't taking my stuff. I haven't served this country for 48 years for some knucklehead to come in and say, you got to surrender your guns.
Yeah, that's not going to go well. You come and take it. I have a feeling when you have millions of gun owners being demanded to return their guns, I don't see that happening, Leo. Do you?
No. And
it's not happening.
I'm trying to think of the Japanese general that said they made the biggest mistake when they went to World War II, and he realized we woke, the what did he say? Not the sleeping bear. Oh, God, I can't even think. I'm sorry. But I think it was
no worries. We got you on the spot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
I appreciate it, Leo. No, smart points. And yeah, you took guns to school and then guns back from school. There's back in Leo's day, there was no threat of that. I remember my dad telling me stories. They used to play cops and robbers with real guns in their neighborhood, which is insane to think about. But back then, growing up in the 60s, like no one thought of it as a threat. You could never get away with that today. And I'm not saying that we necessarily should, but the society has changed so much so that the second you see a gun, the threat is that you're going to get shot immediately. Back then, you never even thought of that. So Kamala actually did another interview today. And most people don't realize that. I didn't realize that till it popped up on my Twitter feed. She's talking about this Dana Bash interview that she bombed a week ago. I guess it was a week ago now, all 18 minutes of it. She didn't have to answer for a lot of her policy flops, but she actually did do another interview today on Univision. And they're all a bunch of softball questions. For example, she talks about her economic plan with Univision. Here's that exchange. And let me know on the other side of this if that's going to help you.
First of all, it is putting more money in the pockets of middle-class people. And I come from a middle-class background, unlike my opponent, who had a rich daddy who helped him start his career, and then he went bankrupt multiple times. I come from a middle-class background raised by a working mother who put all of her hard work into me and my sister Maya. But I will tell you, the tax issue is really pretty basic for me. The billionaires and the biggest corporations can afford to pay more, and they've got to pay their fair share. And that's one of the ways that I will address what we need to do to make sure that everyone is carrying their weight. And my plans, and the economists have talked about my plans, my plans will actually reduce the deficit by $1 trillion as compared to my opponent, who could keep, because he gives tax breaks to the richest people, contributing to the deficit and not helping the middle class, because, of course, teachers and nurses and firefighters should not be paying more in taxes than the richest people in our country.
So that's a load of garbage, as usual. She says that her economic plan will put more money in the pockets of middle-class people, but it's Kamala who wants to let the Trump tax cuts expire next year, should she become president. She's on record for saying this. They want to stop the Trump tax cuts. And who does that benefit? Not the middle class. It actually benefits the rich. It benefits the rich. Yes, Kamala Harris's tax plan benefits the rich. While Trump's tax cuts helped the middle class, getting rid of these tax breaks will help the rich, and that's in the form of the SALT tax. So there won't be a cap of $10,000 that they can deduct anymore for the state and local tax deductions. In Trump's plan, he limited the state and local tax deductions. So before this was enacted, high-income earners in high-tax states, aka New York, New Jersey, Chuck Schumer's buddies, they could use this unlimited deduction to reduce their taxable income, sometimes by millions of dollars. So she's completely lying when she says that her tax plan doesn't benefit the super wealthy, like Chuck Schumer's friends. So what is her tax policy? We're still trying to figure it out. There, again, is no policy listed on her website. But if you ask Mark Cuban, he doesn't care. He doesn't even care what her tax policy is. He was on CNBC 2 days ago. And for a smart person, there's really nobody I can think of who is more dumb than Mark Cuban.
They realize that's the issue. I can't repeat it enough. Even though she's not directly conflicting the Biden tax plan, to her value proposition is we need to tax everybody fairly. I'm starting from the Biden plan as a starting point, but that's not necessarily her ending
Mark,
point.
let me just say, I appreciate you calling in, telling us what you're hearing on these fronts. That's great. But as you've said yourself, you can't speak for the vice president. These are things they're telling you. Who knows what they're telling other people? My guess is they're telling anybody who's donating to them exactly what they want to hear at this point. What matters is what they say publicly and what they will stick to.
No, absolutely, positively not. Right. Let me just be very clear.
I don't know. Why do you think that they're telling you the truth and not telling other people other things?
Well,
if they won't say it publicly, say it publicly. Tell all of us so that we can hold you to it.
I get it, but you've got to get the details right. You can't just.
Yeah, but we have 60 days till an election. Like, you're asking people to take a flyer.
Even if it's the day before the election, right? Even if it's the day before. Look, the next question is, the second thing I was going to mention earlier.
I just don't want everybody to trade on what we think and what we feel and what we think may happen.
Exactly.
Just tell us.
Like I said, no dumber smart person than Mark Cuban. He doesn't even know what Kamala's tax plan is, but he supports it. And even if she introduces it a day before the election, well, that's good enough for Mark Cuban. So what is he even arguing? Why does he support a plan that he doesn't even know exists? It's these voters that you can't get through. They're going to vote for whoever's not Trump. But if you just present facts and logic and, well, what are you voting for? They don't even know. They don't even know. Back to that Univision interview that Kamala did today. This is a funny little tidbit. So she was talking about how it's time to move forward and past the Trump era. And of course, she's on radio, so there's no actual camera or video shot of her doing this interview. It's very clear that she has notes in front of her that she's reading from. Why is it clear? Because you can literally hear her turning the pages of her notes. I laughed when I heard this for the first time. Take a listen. Let me know if you can hear the page flipping as she's trying to answer this question.
This time to address Hispanic Americans who may be on the fence about which way to vote on November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era,
I wonder what gave her the idea to say turn the page. Maybe she was turning the page at the exact same moment that popped into her mind.
Is to help meet those ambitions and those dreams. That's the kind of vice president I've been. That's the kind of president I will be.
Here it is again, one more time.
Time to move forward. And
Kamala Harris, what a phony. What a phony. Chris Saliza, he's a liberal hack on Twitter. He's been talking about how Kamala Harris has changed her policies on a whole lot of things. Banning plastic straws, a mandate for automakers, banning fracking, a mandatory buyback program, decriminalizing crossing the border, reparations for slavery, building a wall on the southern border, a federal jobs guarantee, and Medicare for all. Those are all the policies that Kamala Harris has flipped on. He says that as a matter of fact because he's a liberal hack. But we don't actually know if Kamala has flip-flopped because he's never actually said it out loud. She's just, all of these. There's 9 points I just read that are being flip-flopped via anonymous sources within the campaign. She's a total phony, and we all know it. We got to take a break. And I'm Corey Inganamort. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And it was a great privilege to sit in for Vince Coglianese today. He'll be back on Monday. Quick special announcement. Saturday, September 28th, there's going to be a boat parade, a Trump boat parade in Washington, D.C. We're going along the Potomac River, cruising the shores. If you got a boat, know somebody with a boat, get in touch with me. Apparently 4 years ago, there were hundreds of boats. I'm organizing it now with a friend of mine. It should be a great time.